One of the highlights of last night, though, was Andres Munoz. And we already loved him. We're already praising him. He still has yet to give up an earned run. I know he gave up that hit when he first got in. And then for him to face the heart of their order, their three best hitters, and strike them all out the way he did was ridiculous. I mean, I was ready to go, well, they're going to get a sac fly. You know, somebody's going to lift one, and here comes the run. And there you go. Nobody out, bases loaded in that part of the order coming up. I mean, I'm running out of things to say about Andres Munoz. I can't give him enough praise. I don't know what else to say other than he's just amazing.
Yeah, and like I've said this before, I've known he's amazing. I think it's just a matter of consistently doing it from the closing position. So I'm not surprised at all for him to strike out 3 in a row. His stuff is so good, and the way he pitches and the deception and the aggressiveness, it's so fun to watch. And you almost feel like now he's more accurate than he's ever been. Like his approach and how he's attacking hitters is he's getting strike one, he's getting strike two, and he's really doing a good job. But then he's putting guys away. Putting guys away. What
about the way he mixes his pitches? Do you put that on him, or is that Cal? You know, just in terms of, here's a guy who can get it up there in triple digits, but then he's got that slider that just buckles everybody.
Yeah.
You know, and just figuring out, you know, we saw it when Julio stepped up. He's sitting on the heater, that first pitch from Miller, and Miller goes off speed, and you see that horrible swing.
Yeah.
That's Munoz has the same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about just the way he mixes his pitches, do you put that more on him or Cal?
I think it's more on him mostly. I think Cal does a good job of recognizing it, but when you look at the history of Munoz over the past couple of years, the way that he kind of has attacked hitters has changed, right? At some point, I remember he was super slider heavy, and he just threw slider, and then sneak in 99, and it was, kind of a backwards thinking from a pitching aspect, thinking, oh, I got 99, 100 in the tank. I might as well just showcase that on the regular. But he's like, I'll just throw my nasty 90-mile-an-hour slider and, have you honor that and, sit on that, if you will, and then that fastball looks probably like 105. So I think what he's realized over the course of the last couple of years is how to attack hitters effectively and what he needs to do to be able to get strike one and strike two. And because he knows that once he has 2 strikes, you got him. You can blow him away. So he's learned what it looked like of how to attack hitters differently by mixing pitches. He's only throwing fastball sliders, so it's not like he's throwing anything else. But it's like mixing pitches around the zone. So he's going, down and in, or the strikeout to Rooker, that inside heater. I was like, oh my, that was an impressive pitch to throw at that time. And he swung and missed. And then the same thing to Butler there, that inside heater, just nasty stuff. And that's the thing that I think the difference maker of Munoz is what you've seen. And you could say this about a lot of pitchers, but you get to a point where you just start throwing the highest quality strikes you can throw. Like there are pitches that are in the zone that can almost, like, no damage can be done. Let's say extra base, say it's homers. There's always going to be someone that, hits one off you when you throw a really good pitch. But more often than not, if you throw high quality strikes basically around that box and you just live around that box, you're going to be successful. And that's what I've seen.
Hey, tell us a little bit more about the relationship between pitchers and catchers. Like, with Cal, I mean, you don't see very often that he gets shook off, right? And I know a lot of it probably has to do with, his status, or if you're a young pitcher that comes in, you don't shake off Cal, right? Or is that...
I would, Dave.
Would you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, I would
shake off Johnny Bench. He doesn't care.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, yeah. So talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you get into that? I remember one time watching. This was one of my favorite moments with Cal. Remember a couple years ago, I talked about that all the time, where he lit up Brash. He went out there and was like yelling at him on the. So I mean, he was a rookie, a young guy, right? So, but how does that relationship develop? And like, do you pretty much know? I mean, is he pissed at you if you're shaking him off or whatever, or you're just having a conversation about it?
Yeah, ideally these conversations don't happen on the field, right? I mean, you can kind of nip these things in the bud beforehand, so when the situation arises, you know exactly what to do, and there isn't any sort of, I want to do this, no, you want to do that, and we can't agree on what we're trying to do. So,
okay.
I mean, I think that's something in the game, though, like with Brash and having a young guy come up, more often than not, I think you're right. Guys are going to be like, okay, Cal, whatever you say, I'll do. You're right. You know what I mean? You're right. But For me, this is just my personal pitching experience throughout my whole life, was that I never had a catcher doing that, right? So I was just up there trying to read, react, and perform and execute, and not worry about whether the catcher put down 1, 2, 3, shake. I didn't. It was like, okay, that's what you are going to put down. But I'm the one, and I said this last week, when I gave up that monster home run in Nelson Cruz, I followed the scouting report. I followed someone else's information when it's really hard when you have information right in front of you. When you see a hitter and you see situations unfolding, do I just go back to the book and say, oh, well, this is what the book said? Or do I say, no, I'm in the moment right now. I can grab the bull by the horns and take control of the situation based on what I see. And it's way easier to swallow that decision. And if it doesn't work out, than it is to take someone else's decision and say, hey, you executed the pitch and it still didn't work out. So it's an interesting conversation that you have to, have with each player. And I know Cal goes through this with the pitchers. Hey, when things are getting tough, when you got 2 outs, when we got pitch counts high, what do you find yourself relying on, right? Do you find yourself going slider heavy, or are you just throwing splitters all day? So how do I give you the best recommendation based on what I'm seeing and what I know about you, and then ultimately what you want to do? Yeah. So it's a very, loaded conversation, but if you can figure out what you need to do and how to execute, then ultimately, you're so self-aware that you don't necessarily need the catcher to make the decision for you.
What'd you see out of Matt Brash? He's finally back. He's such a huge part of this bullpen. It seems like they're going to be really cautious with him and not pitch him back to back. We had talked to him earlier in the show. He's great. But they definitely seem to have a plan. They're going to err on the side of caution. Mm-hmm. But 14 pitches, what'd you see?
Awesome. I was great. I was so happy to have him back on the mound. Just it was such a gap left when he's not in the bullpen setting up for Munoz. You're like, it almost, the way he was pitching before surgery was like, you are Munoz. You are a closer. You're getting the save in the 8th inning by how good your stuff is. And in a lot of ways, if you were on a different team, you probably would be the closer. So seeing him come back from surgery, and as someone that's had Tommy John, I know that first year back is just such a exhilarating feeling. It almost feels like you're a new baseball player, a brand new player, just trying to stick around and just have fun with it. And I really, really relished that he was able to have a quick, clean inning, because that is going to build some confidence, right? When you get back up there, it's easy, or it's not easy, but it's easy to kind of go through the motions in your minor league rehab assignment when you're in AAA and, climbing up the ladder before you actually get back to the big leagues. Because you kind of realize that the performance doesn't count, right? Mm-hmm. You're like, okay, I'm just trying to get my work in. I'm trying to, make sure that I feel good after each outing. And now that he's back up, I'm just like, at some point you're going to have to kind of let the leash go and just let him be a normal pitcher again. But I think that first year back, I know from my experience, it was weird. Like, I have days where I'd be like, is my arm feeling good, or is it weird or different, or is my elbow straight? Like, it doesn't. No, I just cracked it, live cracked on air. There you go. That's I'm sure. I'm sure, straight now. Yeah, I'm sure Brash will deal with that later. So yeah, it's certainly fascinating to see him back, and I do. I think it's a good plan for the health and longevity of Matt Brash's career is to, slow play him as much as you can, right? Like, it'd be fine if he's going back-to-back come August, September, October, ideally. Then, hey, you're welcome back to the show. We're going to give you 2 out of 3 first 3 games. Like, okay, no, let's just figure out how to get him in the flow of things, because he hasn't pitched in over a year, right?
Yeah, September 2023.
Think about it, Dave. You don't play for a year and you come back and you think like, oh, I'm just the same player. Like, whoa, I don't know. I got to recalibrate things here, right?
Well, not only that, but also you're always wondering, like, I did so much work on this knee and everything. I trust it and all that, but like, what if it just doesn't work out?
Totally.
You get all that in your brain. And I was telling Bob earlier, I had one play where it just clicked for me, and I'm like, okay, I never looked back, but at some point you get to the point, at least this was in the way in football, that once you got to that point, you never thought about the injury again.
Yes.
How long does that take, do you think, for you or a guy like Brash?
Yeah, I would say, you start throwing 4 to 6 months after surgery, and that's just like a tennis ball, like just getting the arm going, right? I remember the first throw I actually ever made, I threw it like 10 feet right into the ground. I was like, oh, I don't want to do this. I didn't want to let it go, right? Like it was just a little nervous.
Yeah.
So, and that's to your point, like you just don't know if your body's going to break down again or if you're going to run into some more issues, inflammation, anything to, I guess, delay the process that you're trying to go through. But yeah, I'd say probably once you get on the mound for the first time, because it's one thing throwing off a slope, it's one thing playing long toss and like gaining strength and feeling better about that. But once you get 60 feet, 6 inches away and you have the slope and you're really driving the baseball to the catcher's mitt, that's when, it can kind of go one way or the other. It's like, okay, do I trust myself? Do I allow myself to, what I say is like, do I allow myself to hit the turbo boost and like max effort this thing,
Right.
because like in the beginning, you're just like, I'm trying to protect myself from myself in a way, right? Because as us athletes, we go, yeah, give me the ball. I'm ready to go. 0 to 100, let's go, right? But you realize that that's probably not going to be a good approach. So you maybe go 90, 95%, and then there'll be a day where you go, today's the day. We're going to let it rip, bud. We're going to let it rip and see what happens. And then you let it rip, and then you come out of it, and you're like, I can do this. We can do this again. We are back. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.